today, guys. I hope you're having a very good day. But I wanted to talk to you about something, which is the Ukraine war. You know, those guys in Ukraine, they just can't get a break, right? They have not been able to stop the Russian offensive at all. Um, it continues to push. And this goes back to what I said 3 weeks ago, or wherever it's been, when Ukraine did the Kursk offensive move. They pushed the pocket. They had early success, but it's all stalled. It's completely over with now. It's stalled. And the other thing I pointed out was they can't advance anymore because they blew the 3 bridges out. All they could ever have done was widen the territory, but they couldn't actually drive any deeper because, well, they blew the bridges out. The same rivers that Russia has to cross to come to them, they have to cross to continue that offensive, and they simply blew the bridges out. It was impossible for them to go any far, so they're not going any further. They are, I guess you could say, mopping things up, and I'm sure there's going to be some towns here and there that fall still. But the push is over, right? The momentum's been lost. Russia's basically got troops there now. And let's just be honest with you. Right from the start, I always said it didn't make no sense to me. And the reason why it didn't make any sense to me is you're short manpower. So the pull manpower from your front line just to do this Kursk offensive thing was stupid. It didn't make no sense because unless you really truly threatened Russia, which they never did, it was not going to have a desired effect. And this is where the Western media continues to be fake on all of it, a lot of this. It's not just on TV, it's your non-traditional stuff. YouTube, fake news YouTube channels. Ukraine Matters, The Enforcer, people who basically, fake news Dennis. The ones who really just spend all their time basically every day talking about Ukraine. Anna Ukraine. There's so many of them, guys. So many of them. And they're just full of shit, basically. I don't know what else to tell you. They're part of that fake news, Western fake news. Like, for example, I remember this time last week, the United States had said basically that it had detected 30,000 Russian troops being pulled from the Eastern Front and taken to Kursk to help stop the operation. But obviously there's no truth to that, right? Because had there been 30,000 troops withdrawn from the Eastern Front, Russia probably wouldn't be able to continue to drive and push the way they are. And 30,000 troops would have actually been a success. Like, if you could prove that, right, it actually would have been, a success. It's hard to argue that if you've made someone withdraw 30,000 troops, that would be a failure. But that's just not been. So what I'm saying, the U.S. is full of shit on that. And I'm an American, I can say that. And it just hasn't had no desired effect, which is, once again, going back to this whole thing, it's just wasted Ukrainian resources that they don't have. And it's really that simple. Now, I don't know where this is going to go. What I do know, what I have been consistently, I was the first one to report on this, first one, period, in the Western media and all the fake news. There's going to be a negotiated peace. It's going to be happening soon, probably sooner than later. And I've been saying this for like over a year and a half, right? And it's more clear today than ever that that's what's going to happen, right? Zelensky's talking about peace. Biden's talking about peace. The European Union's talking about peace. Putin's talking about peace. There is a coming negotiated peace that is going to end this war. A war which at this point Ukraine is clearly losing. You can define, the war has gone so bad for Ukraine over the last 16 months. You can now define this as definitively they're losing the war. They just don't have enough anything. Their biggest issue today is troops, but they don't have enough of anything. And not to mention, I don't think they've never been really good at executing the war. Here's pretty much sums up Ukraine. Before the minefields were set down by Russia, Ukraine was really good when they went on the offensive. Okay, they were really good at that, right? However, as time has gone on and the minefields been placed, they've never been able to defend anything worth crap. It's been a problem they've had the entire war. They seemingly don't have the capacity or knowledge on how to build trench network or trench warfare. They don't. They just don't do a good job at it. And matter of fact, if you go back like 16 months ago, 99% of the time they were caught with their pants literally down. And what I mean, they had months, sometimes even over a year, to prepare defense before they lost all their momentum. And a lot of times Russia was taking back chunks of land that they never even was able to finish building defensive trenching network. And that's been their problem the whole time. The other problem, which also is the same thing of defense, is every time they've allowed themselves to be encircled by Russia, you can't keep allowing your forces to be encircled, to hold on to a city. You have to get them out so that they can live to fight another day. There's no value in allowing Russia to put a horseshoe around your city and then in order to save your troops, you have to do some type of emergency evacuation. It doesn't make no sense, and it's been a problem the entire war. It's ridiculous. So, where is this heading? Well, it's heading to an end in peace. Ukraine's lost the war. They don't have anything. And the Kursk offensive has actually killed a lot of Western armor. Hey, look at the videos. I don't know what the number is, but there's a lot of Western armor falling to drones, right? So, like I said, this war at this point has become the biggest waste of resources. Okay, because no one had the resources, including Russia. Russia didn't have the resources. They've paid a huge price. But Russia's had, like America, half a century to build its stockpile. So it has a lot of weapons. But it's just a waste at this point. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I said this many weeks ago, which has turned into months now. Ukraine is never going to have an air defense as good as it was at the beginning when they had the Patriot and the old Soviet air defense systems. And the reason why is back when that was the case, they still had like 400,000 or 500,000 Soviet air defense ammunition. Today they have almost nothing. And obviously America can't keep them supplied in Patriot missile systems. And quite frankly, once again, the dollar value, $3 million missile, $10,000 drone, right? It's an issue. And it's just like, we'll give you another example. The F-16s, if you listen to Zelensky and believe him, it seems like they had a good night at shooting stuff down here the other day for air defense when Russia launched all those missiles and stuff. But there again, unless Ukraine's gunning them down with the F-16's machine gun, which, it's possible, not likely, but possible, how are you going to sustain them with missiles to keep doing this over and over and over and over? So that's the thing. Zelensky himself has never acknowledged something that I've said long ago. You can't win stagnant warfare. Not even Russia can win it. Too many people talk about attrition. It's not really a thing. You fight attrition only because a war has bogged down. That bogged down means stalemate. But it's not an actual strategy. You don't actually have attrition warfare as a strategy. It is what it is because a war has bogged down. It has become a stalemate. So only by definition of that definition is it actually attrition. But it's not an actual strategy. If you're not moving, you're losing. And that's Ukraine's problem. Not only are they outmatched with manpower and everything else, the equipment, they're not moving. And so they're losing. And the longer this war stagnates, they have to keep getting more and more Western supplies. And relying on the West can't do it. They can't produce it themselves. It's the same thing for Russia. Like I said, Russia's taken a high casualties in this, both in troops and in weapons. So, anyway, by it being stagnant, they can't win. If you're not moving, you're losing. It's just that simple. Air defense is short of maybe like a nuclear missile exchange. Air defenses are meant to be a part of a bigger picture, which is to give cover to the troops while they're moving. It's not meant for stalemate warfare in which you just lob hundreds of thousands of munitions back and forth at one another. They're meant to give you momentary cover while you're advancing basically operations. They're not meant to just, at least where they're built today, they're not meant like that. And Ukraine can't sustain that. It's like even right now, you read the articles yesterday, Ukraine announces that they've developed their own ballistic missile, which has been touted as like a crossbreed between a cruise missile and a drone or something like that. And then you read about it. It basically has the same range as America's ATACMS. But there again, is it really something Ukraine should even be worried about? And I think it's just a waste of resources and time. What Ukraine needs is a wonder weapon, okay? That's what they need, a wonder weapon. This isn't the answer. They'll never be able to produce enough of them to make any impact on the battlefield. It's just that simple. So, yeah, it's tough to watch. Like I said, this is one of those pointless wars. One of those pointless wars you've ever seen. Russia invaded Ukraine falsely And obviously Putin's a murderer. Whatever. None of that's irrelevant to the point that, Ukraine's simply losing the war now. The war went good for them all the way up to Bakhmut, and then after that, it's been downhill. Listen, I still to this day don't understand, with all the surveillance drones that Ukraine had at that time and just satellite data and all that, I don't understand for the life of me how we went through the winter of Bakhmut while Russia was digging minefields and trench networks. I still to this day don't understand how they had all that time to make strikes on Russian troops that were doing all the defensive construction work, and they didn't do anything. They focused on everything except killing the people that were building Russia's defenses. And then they paid the price for it. I think that's an American failure as much as a Ukraine failure. You tell me, with all the satellite data and all the footage you guys saw over a long winter month watching them do this, are you telling me you couldn't take out a trench digging machine? No, they didn't. They wasted all those drones on tanks, armored vehicles, hoping Russia would run out, which they haven't, not even close. And the defenses were built. It was the biggest, I think, clusterfuck of the war, quite frankly. Right? I think you're also going to see this eventually come to the point, now that it's real evident that Ukraine cannot stop Russia's advance any longer, which this has been told on my channel now for months. That's well over a year long now, but besides the point, I think you're getting to a point now too where you're going to see in time Ukraine gets more and more desperate, and well, they'll probably start risking the F-16s in battle, to be honest with you. I don't know, even as we speak today, I don't know why they're not, for example, loading those glide bombs on the F-16s and just lobbing the shit out. I mean, at one time, they were given several hundred of them before they quit using them because they weren't successful. Possibly even a few thousand. So they got a lot of them, was my point. You got the F-16. I'd start lobbing the shit out of those things. And until you just were proven that they just aren't working. But now that you have a superior aircraft, I think it's time to start lobbing. It's the only thing you have that you have a lot of. Right? It's just that, it's that simple. Now, let me just say this. I noticed in this last aid package from America, they did finally start sending electronic warfare backpack systems. The same thing Russia has. These jammers. It would be interesting to see, I think, in time, if those got, I don't know how many they're getting, but if they got spread out across the battlefield, or even in a certain sector, if they can start causing Russia to have the same problems that they're causing for American weaponry. That to me would be fascinating to see. Russia's EW isn't really more advanced than America. It's not. Their version of the system just blankets the battlefield. It oftentimes affects their own equipment, where America has the ability to actually target. But you gotta have those assets in place, and America's never given them. And I don't think these backpacks are going to do it. So anyway, Ukraine. The bottom line with Ukraine is you can watch Little Willie every day. You can watch Fake News Dennis. You can watch, Ukraine Matters, moron over there, and idiot Ukraine, Anna Ukraine, and I mean, the morons over there, the Enforcer. I don't know why anybody wants to watch it. It's all garbage. It's Western propaganda. It just is what it is. I don't know anything about Matt the Enforcer, law school, this, whatever. They're not very bright, is the point. And pretty equivalent to modern day young people today. But why people by the hundreds of thousands want to watch these guys talk about Ukraine every night, losing a war that they never even acknowledge, I just don't get it. I don't get it. It blows my mind that people are willing to spend their hard-earned dollars on a bunch of amateurs who aren't journalists. They're not even good news. They're just not good news. Let me tell you, you know what the Enforcer does every day? He does the same thing I do. He goes to Fox News, CBS, ABC, NBC, real news, and he simply just reads stories. He gathers information and then he presents it to you at nighttime on his YouTube channel and calls it the Enforcer News. Something that you could have been doing yourself for free. He does it and you pay him money to do it. It's stupid. Like, it's not news. It's not news. But obviously it's fake news, right? So, anyway, that's it. Ukraine-Russian war is coming to an end. Remember, we reported this first over a year and a half ago that this negotiated peace was coming. It's a done deal. It's going to happen. And it just is what it is, man. I know I have no words for it. But it's over. It's going to be over. I predicted at the end of this year you would start hearing more about it. You have started to hear more about it. The year's not over. As it pushes ahead, you're going to hear more about it because it's just the way it is, man. There's no way around it. Absolutely no way around it. So, anyway, guys, enjoy your Thursday. Talk to you later. Defund fake news, and your life will be much better. Get rid of the Enforcer. Get rid of all these idiots. Save your hard-earned money. Invest in yourself. Invest in the stock market. Build a better future for you and your family. Quit giving your hard-earned dollars to fake news. Defund fake news. Talk to you later. Bye.